Sick. Okay, what's happening? So, currently on Wednesday the 10th, Wednesday the 9th at 10:47, looking at the DXY. So, going to jump straight into it. I'm going to do a breakdown on basically all of my pairs. Just because we're midweek now, it's good. I took some sick trades. I'm running in a trade on Aussie US dollar as well, which I'll talk through as well. And then at the end of the week, hopefully, if I get a chance, I'll do some trade recap videos and whatnot. But I don't think that's the most important part because a lot of the stuff I'm covering that will be covered in those videos will be covered in here anyway. So, yeah, I'm going to jump straight into it. Sick. So DXY. Yeah, I mean, DXY is looking nice. I mean, what I really do like is that we've had this push away now. Was there a trade in here? Not yet for me. Solid. I mean, you could say that there was this 1 hour, but I think because of the approach, I just kind of left it away. Um, so I didn't really want to entertain that. However, what I do like, and 4 hours king, is we're coming down here now, so I want to see us break. We're meeting this impulsively, which I like. Now I want to see some continuation. However the continuation is, I don't care. It's just I need to see that continuation, that squeeze, look at that opportunity in there, and then from there, I could potentially be taking some longs. I'll probably be looking at a reduced risk, if I'll be honest with you. I'm not taking dicks, so I just like to analyze it, but I'll be looking at something like that. Boom, and I mean maybe perhaps some of I might even take a little bit extra and then I'll be in for that. So that'll be the run, obviously counter trend on gold and Euro USD, but that's basically what I'll be looking at. I think this down here isn't really what I'll be focusing on now. I think this would have to be ever so much evolved if we are going to be making it, just because of how price action was. I think that forecast was more so for the volatility. Now I'm looking at it like this. This is more of the evolved structure. And would I want to evolve even more? I guess this is something that I guess I could look at for, but more so I'm happy to leave that as it is. I don't really care about this top line. This top line is super irrelevant now because I'm more so looking for the long. So because we're so far away, I can reevaluate, but I'll keep it on there just for reference. I've got my middle section highlighted, and hopefully we can play this 1, 2, 3. This will be a monstrosity of a run. So DXY is looking very nice. Euro USD. So we're going to go down top-down analysis from the weekly. So what I do like about this is that on the weekly time frame, we've come back and met with this sort of significant area. If I just zoom in a little bit more, this sort of significant area here. Now, this doesn't have to be the line in the sand. We could still meet here, and then we can go even further or somewhere within there. More so, what I'm looking at on the daily now is price rejecting. So what I was looking for was a push down and a flag, right? From this section here. So this being the scoop, arc, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3, we're in for the money. So how we got there was very impulsive. So definitely I'm not going to be looking for a straight up risk. I'm going to be looking for reduce, but when I drilled down to the 15, which don't really have permission to, there's nothing really there, to be honest. There's no confirmation of this. So as much as I wanted to really capitalize in this particular trade, there was no entry. And unfortunately, it's just I have to be extra patient. Entry could eventually present itself, but it's too premature at the moment. Perhaps maybe if we pushed up, pushed back down, and created a flag just like the forecast, that's it. So right now I'm very neutral. Push up, long, push down, short. That's it. It's as simple as that. The next one I've got is Euro USD. Now, Euro USD is one that I've definitely been keeping on watch. I know a lot of people are very pro long on this, and I understand why because of how the DXY is shaping up. However, from my perspective, I'm always going to stay neutral, and I think this is an override point, that's an override point. If we break that, then definitely I'll reevaluate my data, and that could be a larger Falcon flag. Doesn't really look like a normal to price sort of structure to it because it'll be a 1, 2, and then we'll see something even larger, which kind of makes this massive structure neutral. And then we're going sideways before we actually go long. So could be looking at that overall arc to the side, to the bottom. So what I'm actually really looking at now is just this. I mean, there was a missed entry in here for me, and I think I was evaluating it this morning and thinking, you know, this if this breaks lower, then we could be in for the sell run. But because of how large this correction was, just from there, and sometimes it does go, I just wanted to stay out of it. There was a 1, 2, 3 in here as well, which I think this would probably, if I was going to take a trade and if I was just laser locked on this, that would have been my trade in there. Would I have taken that um, exactly like that? Probably not exactly like that. I would have more so looked at entry one, entry two, and then probably if I took entry two, I would have been taken out for a break even. So entry two would have been reduced risk. I would have been here, and then it would have probably come in here, and then yeah, I would have been taken out for 1%. If I took a trade there, over here though, I probably would have got in the trade over here, probably would have slapped in my entry over here, 10 pips, and or maybe let's say a bit more, and I would have been in there. Would I have held this? No, I would have taken a break even here and then been tagged out. But more so, I think when this broke lower, I would have been more aggressive now, and I would have put my stop loss here. So I would have probably taken either 1.5 or a break even at that point. Um, yeah, this one, I think, I need to see some sort of commitment now that we've broken this low and that we're trading on this low here. I would like to see some sort of commitment over here. If we can see a flag over here to go to the short, great. That's where I'll be looking to potentially scale in. But for now, there's a lot of other things I'm looking at, like AU, silver, and there's something else as well which we'll go through. But yeah, so not really too concerned about Euro USD. I think when it really starts to reveal itself and create some nice structures down here, I'll be getting involved. But definitely, this was the trade that I missed. Um, but would I have taken it? And I didn't take it for the pure reason that it was just trading here. So I was trading above that, and I didn't really want to just get involved in that. I guess perhaps it's a good thing because this can still just trickle up and then get a little bit complicated. So that's basically Euro USD, but I'm happy to stay out of this one for now. Brilliant. So this is Aussie US dollar. So I actually have a trade open on Aussie US dollar at the moment. So I opened it yesterday. And fortunately, I held a break even. So I got involved on Aussie US dollar and silver at the same time, which was quite interesting because they both form structure at the same time. So it was one where if I didn't forecast and I didn't plan for it, I would have not been able to take it. But fortunately, I did. So currently, I'm running around about 6 to 7% with about 3% locked in. How I saw it was, and it's a really beautiful structure. If you go to the Sunday market breakdown, you'd see myself explaining it and the context behind why I took this particular trade. Um, Now, yes, it is in a bullish momentum. However, it's very corrective. We're moving towards some area. So I saw this as an inflection point. Doesn't have to be the line in the sand, but I saw it as the inflection point. Then I went to the daily, drilled down, and I saw, okay, this could potentially be a falcon flag. So saw this as correction one, push down, and then a 1, 2, 3 leading back up to the override. Drilling down to the 4 hour, we had a nice little middle section, which was very clear, which you can also see on the daily, pushing up impulsively, breaking this, confirming that we may potentially be in the uptrend now. This uptrend started to exhaust and started to become very corrective, which was something that I was really looking at. Now, there was two ways I was looking at this. This was either a structured approach or it was a confirmed, override. Now, the override play was what I was really looking for. The structured approach was just a complement to the override. However, it's still a possibility that we can see that happen. That's why I have locked in 0.5%, but more so, this doesn't have to play because usually within here we probably do have some sort of leading structures, and the 1, 2, 3 doesn't have to be um, the go-to right now. We can come back there later. So we had this sort of flag in here as well, which I guess was the larger flag, but more so this was a refinement trade for myself. So after seeing the override, I saw the push down on both silver and on Aussie US dollar, which I'll go through silver shortly. I saw the push down, which was what I was interested in, and then if drilling onto the 15-minute as well, I was like, okay, we've had a retrace here. This looks more like a evening star now. Let me see what it will look like on the 1 hour when it closes. Now, if the 1 hour closed there and it was going sideways, then we are in room for a 1 hour retrace candle. However, with the impulsive approach, that's not enough for me. So that's why I drilled down to the 15-minute, had a look at it, evaluated, said, okay, that is a solid push away. We've even retraced on it. And then with the confirmation of a small refinement, I was like, do you know what? This could potentially be a very, very good rewarding trade. So I'm going to take this trade and be on the ball with my management. This will be a trade that I won't be looking to solidly hold a break even. I'd either take the 1% because I know the risk I'm taking by taking this position. This is more on the riskier side of trades, but the context was there. The better trade, though, was down here. Um, and I would say that this was definitely the better trade. Um, if this trade was caught here, I could have potentially had a scale, but I think I was so focused on protecting myself here, I didn't want to just add 2% into the table. So, there was definitely another position in here. And then, yeah, I'd be running another position in here. So I didn't take that position, unfortunately, but that would, sorry, apologies, that would have been the better trade. So yeah, that's basically it for Aussie US dollar. It's still running, so at the moment in time, I don't really have much else to report on it. So yeah, when the trade's closed, I'll put it into a recap video and whatnot. So yeah, for now that's it. So next one I'm looking at is Aussie Swiss. Forecast wise, it hasn't really played out to my favor. There was a mini override. It wasn't really something I was forecasting. So I think at this point, Aussie Swiss is more so just more of a patient trade for me. I think it's definitely developing into something a little bit deeper. The forecast I had would have been very nice, but I think just because of how price is now developing and evolving, I think I need to be a little bit more on my management game. I need to be a little bit more sharper. So I'm not too sure about the actual full structure, and I need to really go back and actually analyze this. But there's a few variations of what this can potentially form into, and I'm more interested into just looking at the override section now. So this low is more of an interest to myself, and then just that low. And if we break below that, then I'll probably just be a bit more patient, see if we get to that low. But if we do start to rebound from this sort of zone, then I might be interested to see if we can make it to that override or further. So I was looking for this 1, 2, 3, which I wouldn't say is completely off the table, but I think now because we are evolving with structure, I don't want to be stuck in here. But the trade that I was forecasting um, as a trade, which was missed, was here. So Friday I saw this, and then I was like, okay, this is where we could push down and I'll create something and go further. We did come all the way back up, come for a mini double top below that. So this being the new most recent high, that being the mini double top broken, and then push down, create a flag, and go. So, in terms of an opportunity, I guess here it was, but not in the cleanest form, and then could have taken that to the short. But I don't think that's a trade that I would take personally. Perhaps maybe some other people would, but just yeah, I was happy to stay out of this one. So, um, yeah, I think more so it comes down to personal preference at that point, and it just wasn't my preference. Now, Aussie New Zealand dollar. Now, this one is absolutely incredibly good. So, it's kind of a good trade to actually be looking at the moment because we're basically looking at it as in time for when we are monitoring it. So we have the 1, 2, 3, which, like I said before previously, it's not the most highest of probability 1, 2, 3s, but we have a 1, 2, 3 in there. I'll go to the weekly quickly just for the top-down analysis purposes. We've basically had a strong push down. With that strong push down, we're basically moving impulsively to a target. We haven't really met anything significant, in my opinion. So I'm still looking at natural form of impulse correction continuation. Then I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. And then as we're coming in impulsively, I do want to see a push down and a flag. Doesn't have to be as equal to the size of this, just for demonstration purposes. However, 1, 2, 3. So even though we're in that third touch area, I'm not going to be taking a risk entry here. I'm going to be looking for that reduce. So definitely going to be patient. I don't think I'm going to be drilling down to the 15 minute any hour now. I think if I see an impulsive 1 hour candle, then I think I may then drill down. But at this point in time, I'm going to be extra patient. If we do get some sort of evening star here, that will be even more confirmation for me, but it won't be enough for me to just take a trade. Still be waiting for that push down on the flag. So this is the gameplay for me. I think more so just need to be sharp on the ball and then see where we go from there. So that's basically it for AN, but AN is definitely one that I've got on watch today. So this is silver, and yeah, I've been waiting to do silver for quite a while now. So silver's one that I'm quite new to trading. I think structurally, it gives structure every now and again, and I think when the structure is there, it definitely is respecting it, which is nice. Um, I basically saw this as the line in the sand, and we broke this and nice in a nice way actually because we created a 1, 2, 3 structure over here, and then we pushed, created another structure and pushed down, and now natural form of continuation. I'm looking for progression to the downside here. So this is in the corrective state right now. As we've approached it, we did approach it correctively, but then with the RO3, it was impulsive. So to my plan, I'd look for a push down flag. Looking at the 4 hour, we there was two entries I took, and I've basically taken two break evens. So because of that fact, I'm just going to wait for the push down and a flag. More so, I think there was entries in this, and I was interested in seeing this because it was a structured approach. So I was happy to look for a risk entry in there, but not just based on the true risk entry, more so based on sort of a push down with some sort of confirmation. I was more so looking at some refinement opportunities. However, now it's become fairly too corrective. I'm happy to stay out. So I'll go over those two trade positions. So as we approach the top, we pushed out and then we pushed down. After we had the push down on the hourly, which I will just zoom out to and go to, we had this 1 hour push down. Now, I wasn't interested in taking the 1 hour retrace just because of all of that bullish momentum we've had. I was more so looking at what happens next. And what I did see happen next was we started creating this correction. So when I saw this correction and I saw price around about here, I was like, okay, I'm not going to take a risk entry because this can still push up higher. I'm going to set my pending order here and then leave it. Set the pending order here, and then I was tagged in. 1% risk was still open. And then even up until this point down here, that's when the 1% risk was still open. And I wasn't around actually until around about 8 o'clock. And I think when it was around about here, I then saw the chart, so I was like, okay, cool, it's still running lower. There's potential. I'm just going to leave it where it is up here because we're coming to high spread hours, and I don't want to be tagged out by spread. So, and especially slippage and whatnot. So then let it run through spreads, and then during around about, I think it was about 11 o'clock. At that point, I then decided that okay, I'm going to lock in break even, and then I think just around about the morning, 1 2 a.m. I got tagged out for break even. Was there potential? I think in the long run, if I didn't take a break even, I would have taken a loss. So, yeah, for sure, taking the break even was the better play. Perhaps maybe I could have managed and taken 1% at some point, but it is what it is. I was playing the long game here. And then further down the line, as we approached down here, we pushed up impulsively and we came and retested that high, but we didn't test this high, we just tested the previous one, and we pushed down impulsively, and then I saw this as a potential AFT now. So, and I see this happen quite a lot, like we scoop up, we test it, and then we just sell off. And I think because of that, I was like, okay, interesting. So what I did see was we had two bottoms, we had two tops. There's enough context in there. I'll set the pending order. So the pending order was probably set around about here. I mean, I set it on after I had the two bottoms, so yeah, it was around about here. And then I was tagged straight in. I think if I do look at this, I think I was running around about, yeah, was running just under 1%. But even with that impulsively moving to that low, that's when I was like, okay, cool. This can become something larger anyway, so I'll lock in break even. So I think it was roughly around about here, but yeah, so break even. And yeah, so it's a break even trade. Not much else to report on. I guess the reason why I didn't take it here was because when I saw it on the 15-minute chart, I was more so like, okay, that's only 7 pips, and I don't really want to just squeeze in a 7 pip stop loss. Um, it's a bit too tight for me. I'll leave it a little bit extra room to breathe, so I'll leave it at 10. But then I think when I pushed it to 10, I just like, do you know what? I'm going to be a bit extra, and I'm just going to add 15. So I added the extra 5 pips to what I would have originally put, just to protect myself from any sort of spiking, and then stay out. But by all means, this can still sell off. I just thought I'll protect myself, and I'm not really worried about the risk reward because of the long game. Because if this did commit, then I'd still be in a solid trade where if we did start coming back down to these lows and we moved pretty impulsively, that's still about 7%. If I was to put about 10 pips, it's only about a 3% difference. So I'm not too concerned about the risk reward being compromised ever so slightly with extra amount of pips. But overall, I was quite happy with the trade. The context is still there. Just need that solid push down now. So I'm happy to leave it as it is. New Zealand Swiss. So basically, this one's a mistrade for me. I was looking for the 123, and we didn't get it, and then we did get an override, but I missed the override. And then I think now it's just started the impulsive run. There'll be opportunity on the way down, so definitely stay sharp during this sort of whole price section down here. But more so, if I draw to the 4 hour. Um, and this was just an inflection point that I saw on the daily. So I was just marking it on as a point I was looking at. Then I saw this coming with an expanding. I was hoping for the 1, 2, 3 expanding. We gapped, pushed away, filled the gap, and then we just continued to correct. And then at some point during around about midday, perhaps maybe I was just not aware. I was focusing on some other stuff real wide. Price pushed up, tagged into the override, and then sold off. New Zealand twist though, good shout for a trade there. Definitely was a retrace on the 1 hour. Possible good trade there for me, but if I was going to take it, I think that was the only trade I would have seen. It's the 1 hour retrace, and I think I would have probably taken it if I was sharp on and on the ball with it. But I think just because of the fact it wasn't on my watch list and there was other trades I was involved in, I just wasn't focused on it. But yeah, I'd be running like a very good 4.5% at the moment, locked in roughly around about at least about 3%. Um, and going. So that's basically what I would have done. But yeah, I mean, if I was monitoring New Zealand Swiss carefully, that would have been a trade. But I think when this 1, 2, 3 didn't play out, I kind of just thought, well, it's a wild card. I've got better trades on the table. I'm not going to be too concerned about it. So then I left it out. So that's it basically for New Zealand Swiss. Next one's CAD Swiss. So CAD Swiss, on Sunday, we were forecasting the sort of flag over here. There was opportunity, but I think once again, shift focus. We started to sell off the retest sort of version of. So if I just refine to the 5 minute, I wouldn't usually jump on that, but we can see that we're looking for the push down on the flag here. I would have essentially seen something in this region here, which is uh, the reason why I would have gone to the 5 is because that's what I would have done after I saw it on the 15. Is I would have looked at something over here, and then I would have just said, okay, that's basically a potential inflection point. But would it have been enough in the moment in time to actually take a trade? Most probably this would have been, yeah, this would have been a point of interest for me. I would have drawn to the 15, saw that push away. And then I think when the price came around about here, I would have probably asked myself, okay, cool. Is there enough room to manage this? Well, if I look at this like this, yeah, 15 pips, I could take that trade. And I would have taken the trade here just out of pure um, sort of positioning in price. The forecast of left shoulder, right shoulders off the table, we're selling off now, and then we would have been in there. Would I have probably taken? Well, I would have been running 2%. It would have trickled up. I would have probably been taken out around about here. Or worst case scenario, probably around about here. But would I have gone back to 0.3 or even a break even at that point? It's contemplatable, I guess. But yeah, we have the hover now. Push down the hover over here, and then I think with the hover, we're more so seeing this just kind of selling off now. So it's in this sort of drip feed sort of momentum over here, which I like. And if we do get back up here before we sell, okay, great, that'll be interesting. But we can just fully sell off now. So Aussie New Zealand's definitely one that I think is got big potential. Aussie New Zealand's a nice pair. We had the 1, 2, 3. This is a solid trade, fully forecast up here as well. So yeah, so honestly, really good pair. But I think in terms of the sort of trend, we are in upwards trend, but we can still come down before we go up. So it'd be sorry, this is CAD Swiss for, yeah, for CAD Swiss. I mean, it's definitely one to be a little bit patient with, but there's potential. There's a lot of potential for this pair at the moment, and I think going short is not a bad shout. I think now is just more of a time of kind of understanding where we're going to be taking an entry, and I think if I was going to take an entry, it would be below here. So it would literally be any sort of push down, sort of corrective squeeze, and then I'll be in for a trade. Obviously, bearing in mind that we can sort of expand, but I'm not too concerned about that. I think more so I'd be looking at line in the sand, push down, flag, let's go. Bearing in mind that inflection point 1, 2, but there'll be enough room to manage it. USD CAD. So USD CAD is one that I think perhaps maybe was more so of a mistrade for me as well. I'm more so, my forecast was basically flag here or flag up here, keeping this very neutral. But after evaluating it, solid push down, continuation on the low, definitely neglect this so much. Even though it's 3 touches, I think this forming, but there was no sort of upwards touch here. If there was, that would have been more of interesting opportunity there, but I think now that we're in here, this could be the trade to go to the downside. So if I was going to be taking a trade, it would be here. But I think for now, I'm going to probably stay out of USD CAD just because there's a few other things shaping up. If this does present itself and actually comes in with some really nice structure and leads back up here, then I may consider it. I'm not too sure, but for now, USD CAD isn't something that's on my high priority list. EuroCAD. So EuroCAD is also one that, definitely forecast worked out well, just wasn't able to trade on it. So forecast was roughly around about here on the Friday. We had the Monday. There was there was flags in here. It's just had to really be on the ball. So I think the entry that I would have probably really wanted to take was here. I think I said that on Monday as well. I missed it. And yeah, it was just more so that. So that bull flag would have been the one that I took, and that would have been the go. And I would have probably taken the trade here, put the stop loss down here, 30 pips, and then I'd be in the trade still. Probably be running about 1.5 ish, but that would have been the trade, and then I would have just been well protected. And basically now I'll be managing it probably around about here. So I'll be locking in around about just under 1%, 0.86. So yeah, it's a slow one, but in the midst of things, this could run to around about 7.28%, and that's like an additional bit of profit. It can even run to roughly around about 3-4%. So definitely was a good trade, just missed it. This was a great area though to forecast. So really proud, really happy about that. Not too worried. If price comes back down, comes for a third touchdown here before it goes up, that could be a nice trade. So, like I said, there's an abundance of opportunity that would give me the re-entry in the sort of area I wanted anyway, which I missed. So, I would also be looking at that now. And then if we do get this, this will be it. This will be the trade. So, essentially, how I take it is push down, push in, flag. Let's go. I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Next one is Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss again, probably a mistrade. It was a near miss double top. Near miss double top. Yeah, I mean, I wanted the trade in here, to be honest. We didn't commit, we pushed back up. There was no flag, so that was then instantly taken off the table. Then I saw this as, okay, cool. Are we just creating something even deeper? So that was all gone. And then there was this. There was this sort of high. We broke this high, and I was like, okay, we're probably going to the next point over here. We didn't quite make it, and then we started selling, and then we pushed back up. Looking at it now, could say that there's a 1, 2, 3 there. There's a 1, 2, 3 in here. There was different variations of things, but I think that was a trade I just wasn't able to capitalize on. I wasn't focused on this override as much as I probably should have been. But even so, it was just a near miss after near miss, I guess. There was actually a near miss in here as well. If I can just catch that on. This is not so relevant, but and then we just sold off, and I think that sell was incredibly nice, but it's a hard trade to catch, to be honest, a very hard trade to catch. And I don't think many people would have been able to catch this sort of trade as well. I think it's one of those ones that just slips your fingers. So happy to just left it, move out. If we get a nice correction into continuation, that'd be nice. But for now, yeah, we're still in that corrective sort of squeeze higher. So if we can fill that high, I'll be more interested to see that short. I don't think I'm going to be getting into any shorts here. And last but not least, this one is a monster trade. Crude oil. Now, crude oil is playing out in our favor at the moment. Unfortunately, I was taken out on this trade. Um, it's not terrible, unfortunately, but yeah, I could have been running a lot more. So I capitalized on. I'll quickly just do the breakdown and talk about that trade. But higher time frame, as you can see, we were basically moving to this potential 1, 2, 3, but I saw this as the override. I guess this is the point where override is super important. Came in on the 4-hour chart, seeing structure a little bit more clear. Does look a little bit messy, so I'll just clear off some of this. And yeah, basically how I was looking at it is hits in here, pushes down, creates a flag, pushes off. That's the trade I took over here. Over here, we had the push up for the third touch, and then the push down meets with the override and then sells off, which is basically the same as this, just on the higher scale, but comes in with a 1, 2, 3 on the larger structure. We had a smaller structure within it, but does not mean that we can't still come up here. So that will still stay on the board. This is the sort of ascending that I saw within here. So I saw an ascending within the ascending within the ascending. So it was just multiple. um, sort of patterns within the pattern within the pattern. So it was kind of just one of them ones where I guess, you yeah, you know, just you got to take advantage for what you see, and this is what I saw. So I'll drill down to the 1 hour quickly, and we'll get into the trade. So essentially, I saw the trade in here. I was looking also for a 15-minute flag, but then it did develop a little bit further and became a 1 hour flag, which is not even an issue, to be honest. Still took it on the 15-minute, was aware that the 1 hour flag is developing, and we did have a potential left right shoulder. Now, what I did like about this was solid push down. On the 1 hour, we can actually see that we actually create an evening star as well. Doesn't have to be fully confirmed, but we met with this low and then we started to correct. Now we didn't quite meet that low completely. So I thought if we're going to test it, we'll probably come down to it. But if we're creating correction just above it, this could potentially be enough to us push through. Now, this was probably more so mismanagement because if I held a break even, I probably would have stayed in the market. And I'd be in the market running some odd percentage right now. Yeah, around about 8%. So, not a huge amount of percentage, but still good percentage. And yeah, so I think what I do like about this is obviously we had this squeeze, and I was able to read between it. So I did drill to the 5 minute just to kind of get a little bit more refinement in there. And I saw this as okay, this is the line in the sand. Obviously, we can meet with this high, so I'll protect myself. If we do go anything further, then I just have to assume we're going to keep going. So that that for me was well protected. Um, could say I took a little bit more than what most would, but I was happy with that. But then also I was looking at this line over here, and oops, sorry, it was this line here, and then I saw this sort of leading up sort of structure here. So I was like, okay, cool. So we're coming in here scooping, and then we pushed up, and then we pushed down. When we pushed down here, and I had my pending order here, where I was literally swept in like this. I then saw it like, okay, cool. On the 15-minute, it was a little bit more sharp. There we go. Yep. And then when we came in over here, I think that's the point where let me just unlock that, move that over here. That's when I got tagged in, and yeah, so I got tagged in here and then pushed up a little bit, pushed down, and then just continued. I wasn't really a buy the charts anyway. I think more so, yeah, actually, no, hang on. I did get tagged in a little bit earlier. Sorry, it was over here. Yeah. So I got tagged in over here. And then, yeah, it just kind of pushed down, carried on, and I wasn't really monitoring the charts. I was fast asleep at this point. And then I think when I did wake up, it was roughly around about here. And then couple hours later, it pushed impulsively, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive because we're meeting with this low. And then as we met with this low, we did push up sharply, and I was like, okay, great. I'm more than happy to be taken out here because this had enough potential for it to just keep going up higher, probably retest this zone, which I wouldn't be too surprised about, create something larger. So at that point, there I was like, okay, cool, I'll stay out of it. And then with no surprise, when we did come back and correct to this point, we just sold off. So I think looking back on it, I'm happy with how I managed it. I don't think there's anything I would have really done differently. I was more than happy to come out of this trade of 2% because it did give me the confidence going forward with my other trades as well. However, I don't think looking back on this that it should have taken this trade to give me that confidence. But for sure, I think I don't think I would have held a break even on this trade just because we had a lot of things that could have happened, and this was not the higher value area override, it was just the second touch override. So that was basically it for crude oil and the other pairs. But yeah, it wasn't a bad trade. I was quite happy with this, even though now that it's actually running and moving pretty good. It could potentially run quite a large sum of percentage. It's been a good trade, 8.4% there as well. So to take 2% on that, I'm really happy with that. So yeah, overall, it's been a good trading week so far. When I go through the trade recaps again, um, later on this week. I'll go over through quite a lot of trades, but it's definitely been an active week. It's been a very profitable week. Um, Looking at the trades for this week, I'll just quickly go over them. So we basically from the 7th took 2.5% profit on Euro GBP, then following by another 1%, 2% profit on crude oil, 0.72% profit on Euro GBP, a break even twice on silver, and then I've got Aussie US dollar running in profit right now. So Aussie US dollar is currently running with 3% locked in. It was running roughly around about 7%, and then now it's currently around about 4. So with the 3% just locked in, yeah, it's more than happy. So it's been a pretty profitable week. Currently running around about 74.8% on a case of roughly around about 56 trades over the course of 2.5 months. So it's quite a lot of trades. There was a few invalid trades in there, a lot of lessons. But yeah, so far it's been pretty good. So this quarter is going to be definitely one of my biggest learning curve quarters so far. But yeah, overall, extremely happy. And yeah, we'll catch up in a video later on this week. Thanks. Bye.